I can't believe it's been 20 years since the North American release of the Sega Dreamcast. Officially, it turned 20 in Japan in November last year, but this baby came out in North America, stateside, back in September 9, 1999, or 9/9/99. It's a very important system in the history of video games. Near arcade perfect games came out for this 6th generation console. It's a 128-bit system, and unfortunately, it turned out to be the swan song for Sega in terms of developing video game consoles. It was their last one. This came out ahead of the Sony PlayStation 2, Nintendo GameCube, and Microsoft Xbox, and released a ton of awesome games. Some of them that are near and dear to my heart. Well, of course, my very first game for the system was this Resident Evil Code Veronica. Claire and Chris Redfield teaming up together to fight Alfred and Alexia Ashford, with an appearance by series bad guy Albert Wesker. Set in Rockfort Island, then later on in Antarctica. This is a 2-disc GD-ROM game. Yes, the GD-ROM is the disc format for the Dreamcast. You control Claire first, then you control Chris. And I was a survival horror fanatic. I had to get this game, so I ended up buying a Dreamcast along with Marvel vs. Capcom 2. And the Dreamcast was using the Naomi engine, proprietary, so that's why the console had the advantage of having arcade perfect fighting games. Like this one. Marvel. Everybody enjoyed their Marvel vs. Capcom 2 back in the day. And yeah, that's why I affectionately call this console the fighting game console. Very, very important piece of my video gaming history. And another fun fact about the Dreamcast is it allowed you to put a modem. So it was one of the first consoles to connect to the internet. You can play fighting games online. Along with Marvel vs. Capcom 2, Capcom vs. SNK, Capcom vs. SNK 2, Soul Calibur, you name it, Dead or Alive 2, so many fighting games to remember. I love this system. But, of course, I can't talk about the Dreamcast without talking about Yu Suzuki's Shenmue and Shenmue 2. These games were the first to inspire the open world setting, sandbox style games. So you control Ryo Hazuki in the 1980s, who's out to avenge his father's death at the hands of Lan Di. He ends up going from Japan to Hong Kong in that quest, and he gets to learn things as a martial artist. Very, very near and dear to gamers' hearts. So that's why when Shenmue 3 was announced a couple of years ago as a Kickstarter, we were all going crazy. I mean, we haven't played this saga since the Dreamcast, and yeah, Shenmue 2 was also ported to the Xbox. All that being said about Shenmue, and Shenmue 3 is going to be coming out soon in November, the Dreamcast is a legacy console that will always be remembered. And the influences and the example it brought to gaming history and to gamers everywhere. It's a legacy console, so I'm thankful for it. I mean, we may have our Nintendo Switches right now and our PlayStation 4s, but we'll always remember the classic consoles that came before them. And the Dreamcast deserved its place in history. So, my first video for September 2019, it's 9/9/99. Remember, 20 years later. This is Timster. You can follow me on Facebook at TIMZASTER, and that's also on Instagram. And on Twitter, it's The Timster, and Timster here in this YouTube channel. Subscribe and follow me. I'll be talking more about games, comics, toys, you name it, anything in the pop culture spectrum. And of course, back there also, we're also honoring the first year anniversary of Insomniac Games' amazing Spider-Man game. And Insomniac was bought by PlayStation and Sony, so I can't wait to see what else they got in store for us. Godspeed, Spider-Man. And Dreamcast, Happy 20 years, North American release. This is Timster signing off. I'll see you guys soon.